Thank you for joining us. My name is Lou Brutus, and as the host of the syndicated radio programs Hard Drive and Hard Drive XL, over the course of the last 24 years, I have interviewed and seen gazillions of bands, and a very few of them are as good as my next guest, but there are no bands who are better than my next guest. They are Sevendust. The groups Lajon Witherspoon and John Connolly join me right now. Gentlemen, it is great to see you, and I hope you are well. LJ, you first. How are you and the family making out through what I call the current unpleasantness?
Fantastic. We're family. We're together. Everyone's safe and healthy. I'm very excited. Let me tell you, we got our bags packed. We're getting ready to take a family trip this weekend, and we're really excited about it.
Very good. And John, how are you doing? Because LJ,
let me tell you where we're going.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Our living room.
See, now here I was trying to be a good host and not pry into your family life and ask where you were going.
We ain't going nowhere, man. I'm kidding.
I call it a staycation.
Exactly.
Are you laying out some sleeping bags, or are you going to do some campfire in the background or something in the backyard?
Yes, I'm going to say, look at that picture right there. Have you ever seen it before? Let's talk about it.
Well, actually, you know what? I wouldn't mind doing a staycation in your home. I don't know if you can spin the camera around a little bit, but you're in your arcade room at home, and you have all of these kick-ass machines along with Sevendust Gold records in there.
There's some stuff in there. It's fun. You know, it's been great to have this during the pandemic. It's been something fun for the kids. We kind of unplug and come down here on Friday nights and have a theme night. You know, the hot dog machine's outside the door and 80s music is playing. So, you know, sometimes you might not be able to get in if you don't look cool enough. You know, Kingston might get pushed back out. No, but it's fun. You know, it's great to have.
Well, if you're going to do a pandemic, that's the way to do it. Now then, over to John Connolly. John, where exactly are you? You're in Florida, right?
Yeah, I'm in Orlando, Winter Garden, just outside the city. And yeah, I mean, we've been on lockdown for a long while. So it's kind of getting crazy.
And how are you and you're staying sane through all this?
I mean, we're doing good here. Everyone seems to be kind of hanging in. I mean, we're kind of getting our head wrapped around the whole homeschooling thing. And the interesting thing is my daughter has just picked up percussion. So we have drum lessons going on in the house at 9 o'clock sharp. So if you're not up, you're going to be up.
And how are the neighbors?
Following my footsteps.
How down with that are the neighbors?
Well, she uses a practice pad. We haven't actually got to the real drums yet, so it's only us that are subjected to it this far. But it was funny when the dogs, the first day of school, the dogs are sitting there looking at me like, all right, is this this is going to be a thing, you know? And it's funny because Buddy actually goes in and gets on the bed behind her. She's got the whole guest bedroom set up for her virtual. She's doing it virtually right now, Launch Ed. And he's always in the class because the camera can see the dog, and he's always poking around when she's sitting there playing her practice pad. So, but yeah, I mean, it's it's just something that we're kind of adapted to, you know, and we're making the best of it for sure.
My dog Darla just stares at me some days and then looks at the door like, "Please get out of here, go to work."
Yeah. Ours do the same thing. They're like, "Can't you people leave for a minute?"
Well, I guess one of the first and most obvious questions to ask in regard to the new record, Blood and Stone, is, does it actually seem like 13 albums? LJ, you first.
Does it seem like 13 albums? No, not really. But now that I think about it, you know, when I go in, when we were able at one point in time to go into restaurants and, you would have the jukebox there. And I remember pulling up Sevendust on the list, and it was like 130 songs. So then I kind of think that maybe, I kind of believe it's 13 albums. I can't believe that we're still a band. We're still together as brothers and writing music and still relevant in this time. It's what a pleasure to be able to be an artist, you know, and still have the means to do music.
And what is it about you guys, you suppose, that you've been able to stay together for this long? Because even groups of folks who love one another, after you've been stuck in a bus and on so many tours and so many ups and downs, you can get a little bit crazy sometimes. Why do you suppose you guys have been able to hang for this long?
I don't know, we started as kids together. We've grown up as men, and we love each other. I feel like a lot of people can put a thing together, and so I feel like that's a group. I feel like Sevendust, we're a band, and there's not I feel like there's a lot of bands out there, but I definitely feel like we're one and we're not a group, and that's what's kept us together. Is I feel like we are a band, a band of brothers.
Now, John, over to you. I think the way you guys approached this record was really interesting. And I remember talking to you towards the end of the last tour cycle. And I said, oh, you guys, you got the last gig coming up. Are you all going to scatter? And you all started telling me, no, we're going in to make a record right now. So tell me about the thought process behind that and how it was going from a long album tour cycle right back into the studio to get the record done.
Yeah, I think it was just, it was one of those things where we wanted to hop in. We weren't going to be hopping in the real studio with Elvis to actually record, but we knew we wanted to get a bunch of the demos down because, over the course of an album cycle, there's a lot of downtime, a lot of hotel rooms where, you set these days you can set up a portable recording studio anywhere. You carry a microphone, small keyboard, and a guitar, and you can pretty much write constantly. So there was a bunch of ideas, and the more ideas we get, the tougher it is to make a record. It used to be the other way around. We were like, after the first record, we didn't have any ideas. We were like, we don't want to go back in the studio anytime soon because that first album almost killed us, But these days, it's like if you get too many things, it's hard to give everything enough time. So if you could take in blocks of, demos and at least start sorting through and figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work. And then, find out what page everyone's on, because one guy might want to make this kind of record and another guy may want to make a, totally different record. And somehow or another, you have to find a way for all five people to, put their 2 cents in and take everyone's temperature, so to speak, and kind of figure out where everyone's heads are at, So the sooner we got into that demo process of kind of sorting through this stuff, for me, it always feels better because sometimes when I sit here and I do it by myself and I start stacking up demos and demos and demos and demos and demos, and you feel like, oh, wait a minute, I need to get back with my band. I need to figure out where are they at because I know where I'm at. I'm lost somewhere out here with all these demos. So it's always good to kind of get back in that mode and kind of have the rest of the guys help me make sense of wherever I'm at, or Clint or whoever's bringing ideas in. So, it was kind of one of those conscious things where we just said, we need to get back at this sooner than later if we can.
And Lajon, you and I had spoken before about the fact that towards the end of the last cycle, you guys thought, well, hey, we're playing really good now. Why wait to get that back when we regroup after a break? And basically it was like, strike while the iron is hot.
No, absolutely. I feel like, it's almost like you can take that live element, that energy from being live right into the studio because you still have that passion of being on stage and performing. I think it might give angst to the songs, because then you might go in writing a song thinking about the crowd reaction and maybe having a more understanding from coming off the road that fresh, if that makes sense. I got so funny. John's wife did the Zoom thing where it's the big thing where people come in behind you. They don't know you're on Zoom. I just saw your wife come in and poke her.
Did she really? She just came in here?
Yes, she might not make sure she's dressed, man. She might be
That's
awesome. Oh, yeah. That commercial where the dude's like,
who's zooming who on Zoom?
Who's zooming who?
That's awesome.
Look, tell me. That's funny.
Well, what I'd like to do is go down track by track on this album. And in this segment, we can do maybe the first 3 or 4 songs, and then we'll break and we'll do a couple other segments. And let's break the record down song by song. Let's begin with Dying to Live. Tell me a little bit about the creation of the tune.
John, I've been talking with Lou. You want to go for it?
Yeah, that was one of the ideas that Clint had brought in, and it was kind of one of an immediate. As soon as we heard the riff, we were like, all right, this is a no-brainer. There's sometimes where you listen to a riff and you're like, it's going to be interesting to see how it works out in the concept of wherever it ends up. Sometimes a riff will start and it'll take a journey all the way through somewhere. Sometimes it ends up in a much better place, and then sometimes it ends up somewhere you didn't expect at all. But that was just kind of one of those instantaneous. The second we all heard it, we were like, all right, check the box on that one, no matter what happens to that one. It was just that infectious type of thing that it was a knee-jerk, immediate, yes, this one's going to work. And I have a feeling it's going to end up being one of the singles. It'll definitely, obviously it's leading the record. It was the first thing that we wanted everyone to hear. We had a little bit of debate over how it was going to open up, but we knew that we wanted something that was going to be a banger right out of the gate, and that one was one of the most obvious ones for sure.
Yeah, definitely a great lead track to open up the album, to get everyone's attention, I think.
How much give and take is there amongst all of you guys in management and record label for choosing that precious first song? Granted, there was the Soundgarden cover before that, but this is like the real introduction to the Sevendust elements of the record. So how much thought goes into this stuff? Because these are the kind of things I believe everybody loses sleep over.
Sure.
I feel that, John. If you go first, I feel like that. Well, I was going to cut you off. But yeah, you go first.
No. I mean, I used to really stress over stuff like that, back in the day. But these days, I think I don't know if I'm just a better listener as I've gotten older, or I've just, for whatever reason, it's like I always want to find out where everyone else is kind of thinking before I voice my opinion on it. Because sometimes it used to be I'd get really passionate about a certain song, and then if people weren't feeling that song, you almost feel kind of let down. You're like, oh man, out of 12 or 14 songs, in a collection, there's only going to be 2 or 3 that are going to get that push and that proper single. But what defines a single? It's a tough one to figure out. Like, what are we trying to accomplish here? Are we trying to go for top 40 radio, or are we just trying to be the best version of Sevendust that we can be? And, it's cool when you get feedback from the label and management, just to kind of find out what their take is, because they're looking at it from an outside, perspective than we are. Sometimes it's real tough for us, especially when we're at the tail end of a record. I always like to have a nice break at the end of the record to kind of live with it for a while, get away from it, get out of the demo mode, get out of those feelings of, this song versus that song versus go soft versus go heavy, and then sit down objectively. And 9 times out of 10, we usually all end up agreeing on at least the 2 or 3 that should be in that conversation. And usually it's just a matter of, do we want to go soft or do we want to go banging heavy? Do I want to, we want to kick the door down?
Who is the most apt out of the band to dig in their heels about something like this, to go, no, we've got to go with this? Who's the most opinionated?
Oh man, this is a tough band. There's a lot of opinions in this.
No kidding.
We all have issues with stuff, but that's one thing about this band. It's been so awesome. Is it's easy to work together like that. We never come to a problem where it's like we can't figure it out. It's always okay. Well, when it's not cool. We still have this thing from the beginning of our career. If you say, well, if you think it's cool, it's really not cool. So that's right. Not something.
And by the way,
organization.
This is back to the root of how is it you get 13 albums done with the same guys? It's to live with one another.
Yeah, exactly. We've been very blessed with that. But yeah, like John was saying, it's really good to have outside people come in, like the label management, to put some fire under us and also give us an outside opinion. And it's really cool because all of us, I feel like with me, each song is like a precious thing. So I want everyone to hear everything. I think everything should be a single on the whole album, if you ask me. So like John said, we kind of come together. We want a banger, of course, and everybody agrees on that. And we want something that we want to see people go over live. And so I think we've done it long enough where we're all kind of on the same page when it comes to that.
But like LJ was saying, it is kind of tough because when we put a record together, we try to treat every song as like single worthy.
Right.
I mean, everything should at least be strong enough to be in the discussion. And sometimes it makes it a little tougher, but at the end of the day, I think it makes for a better record, because the record, I mean, these days, singles are important, but it's almost like the actual album itself is not as valuable as it may used to be. And I'm still very attached to it. I know that there's a big trend with bands that are starting to do EPs and things like that. And that's cool to get small doses of music out, but I still love that big collection of music. If you're going to take the time to go in there and do it and put together, a piece of art, I think every piece of that piece of art should have a place and it should make sense. So sometimes it's really tough because you'll have 5 or 6 songs that really deserve to be a single. And, you know, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, do you feel like you're wasting music? I'm like, no, never. Because it's that moment in time where you capture the best of the best and you put it out for the fans.
Excellent answer. So let's go on to the next song on the record, which is called Love. Give me some love on it.
I think it's a really cool song how it came together. How, for me personally, I like the fact how me and Clint play back and forth on the verse, and then it comes in with a really strong chorus. It's fun. I think people enjoy it, and also I think for a live, view, it's really cool when they see us all singing. I think that's something cool that Sevendust, that we do.
John, anything you want to add for Love?
That was an interesting one in the studio. Not necessarily an immediate one as far as like a banger goes, but I think the progression of that song is such a cool build. Definitely has more of a, an electronic kind of a vibe in the beginning, broken down, and it really builds up into a frenzy. I remember there was some discussion. We kind of joked around about that song because there were some parts that we were kind of moving around in different spots. And I remember there was like climb to a climb. You can't do the climb to a climb or whatever. Right? That was the one where we were like, all right, well, let's try this here and here. And, sometimes before you have the vocal melodies and the lyrics written, you don't know, and then once you do, it's like, okay, well, it's pretty obvious. But that was an interesting one because that one kind of changed a few times as far as the structure went before it was completely finished. But, definitely another super strong, song on the record, and one that I thought definitely deserved to be kind of up towards the front, just to kind of, reestablish where's Sevendust at. You got a banger, and then all of a sudden you got something that's a little not totally different from what we would normally do, but something that builds the band in a different way. And then, like LJ said, it kind of showcases, the different vocals between, Clint and him. So yeah, definitely another really, really killer song.
I'm trying to pull the album up so I can look at the songs because I like John.
Right. I did the same thing. I got my cheat sheet right here.
I removed myself from the album. I'm trying to wait till it's getting ready to come out so I can listen to it like everyone else out there.
How long does it, by the way, how long does it take each of you to sort of get to know your own album? Like how much time do you need to spend with it and then get out and play it until they feel a part of you?
I don't know. I mean, I was real bad for a long time about having demo-itis, so anytime that anything would change from the demo, I would dig my heels in and just be like, oh, I don't know, it's not the way that I intended it to be in the first place, but 99% of the time it's usually better. It's like, I know what I can accomplish by myself, but when I turn it over to the rest of the guys and I let them mold it and change it, and sometimes there'll only be one part left by the time it's all said and done, and then you're really bummed out. But when you look at it, when you step back and you take those breaks from it and you can kind of look at it from a more objective point of view, you realize it was for the best. The best part of the song was the one that stayed, and it made for a better song, and it inspired something that, ends up being, I mean, we've got so many songs, like Thank You was one that was hanging on by a very thin thread, and it ended up getting, a Grammy nomination. I'm like, how does that even happen? Like, it was literally almost getting dropped off the board. We have the board and all the songs kind of shuffle, and this one was hanging on and was hanging on. I was like, all right, let's give it one last rip, but sometimes those are the best songs. So you never know. I mean, when you got 5 cooks in the kitchen and everyone throwing their 2 cents in there, these days I like to live with it for a while and step back, because sometimes nothing changes from the demo and then sometimes everything changes. But at the end of the day, it ends up making a really, really solid Sevendust song one way or the other. So like I said, in my old age now, I have a little bit more patience, and I kind of like to live with it, because sometimes, the demo version and the album version are so radically different that it may take you a little bit to get your head wrapped around it. But, at the end of the day, when everyone else is excited and you're the only one who's in the room that's not excited, you're the one who's wrong. You know what I mean? You should kind of be looking at everyone else going, man, look at my hairs are standing up on my arms and stuff. And you're like, all right, well, that's worth something, isn't it? I mean, if we can still do that to each other at this point, after 20 million years in a band together, I think that's the ultimate goal. not whose song made what place or whatever. It's how does the record make me feel? And when I play it for my wife, and when I play it for my friends, how does it make them feel? And when I see them high-fiving and running around and, headbanging and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, I'm like, I guess we still got a little bit of something.
Well, let's look at the closest thing to a title track on the record. Not quite a title track, but close. Blood from a Stone. I think if ever there was something that sounded like it should be the name of a book about Sevendust, it might be this. So, LJ, perhaps if you want to start, Blood from a Stone.
Oh, I think it's great. What a great track. For me, I think that it could have. It's a great way to get today. Everyone got to witness the song. I couldn't wait. Of course, Day I Tried to Live was an incredible cover, but I couldn't wait for everyone to hear something from the album and, just a tease of what is to come. And I feel like this song kind of brings what's there is to come to this album. Everyone wants us to have a heavy song and be heavy all the time. I think this song displays the heavy side of Sevendust and the melodic, the harmonies, just everything, the growth of the band. I feel like this song is there with us. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about everyone hearing it and hearing the rest of the album soon.
And again, for my first listens to it, I wouldn't say it's autobiographical, but it certainly vibes like a song that matches the band very well.
John, I think so. We talked about that. I think, definitely. 13 tracks, 13 stones.
Blood 13 albums, 13 everything.
13 albums, sorry. Everything.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say it's autobiographical because that's kind of what the lyrics are really talking about. It's about us. Blood and Stone represents us. Being family, being brothers for a million years, and then we're hard headed, man. we're really hard headed. We don't like taking no for an answer, and I think we enjoy being around each other and doing this too much to let the business and the ups are great, but the downs, can kind of take the wind out of your sails. But that's kind of what the whole Blood and Stone thing is about. It's us, persevering for ourselves, realizing that we've made some mistakes along the way. And at the end of the day, we're not going anywhere. Obviously, here we are. If you had told me in 1994, that I'd be sitting here in 2000 talking about our 13th record, I'd be like, what? Are you kidding me? I look at it. Yeah, I definitely look at it as a blessing. But Blood from a Stone is very autobiographical for sure.
And then the next track on the record and the last one for this segment, Feel Like Going On. Insight to that.
Wow, that was one of the earlier demos from one of the original writing sessions that we did. And it was a bit of a departure. It was kind of one of those ones where it was like, all right, we know we're going to have the bangers. We know we're going to have that, those typical Sevendust songs. But this was one that was, I was like, this is definitely going to push the envelope here. It was written on piano.
I'm beating my brain right now. I'm like, how does that song go?
Superman. Well, the original, you'll get it from the original title. Superman is dead.
Okay, all right, there you go.
Yeah, right. So it's we're still kind of in. All right, what's the real name? It was Superman is dead, and it was it was just one of those ones that I think it wasn't instant until LJ and Morgan put their stamp on it when we were really sorting out the demo and stuff, because I was still kind of like, I love the song, but I'm not sure if this is going to fly. Like, is this going to work in the Sevendust world? And I know songs like that always are going to work to a point, with Angel Sun, with Christmas Day and Skeleton Song and things like that. But I was like, piano? I don't know, man. Piano's a stretch. But it wasn't like the premier instrument on the thing at the end of the day. So it was a cool one to put together and see evolve for sure.
It was very fun to do that too, man. It was actually just fun to do this album. It was fun the way we would work together, and I enjoyed it. And also working with Elvis and the team again was very comfortable, and it made easy to record, and it was fun. It was exciting, it was fun.
Well, we'll do more on that in the next segment. John Connolly and Lajon Witherspoon of Sevendust are my guests, and in these video segments, we are going through track by track to the new album Blood and Stone. I'm Lou Brutus. We'll see you in the next segment.